Hi guys, thank you for listening to me. Let's start with me. Like, who am I? My name is Dima, right? Official name is Dmitry, but you can call me Dima if you prefer. I prefer. As Maria said, I'm 14 years in QA, mostly here in Devexperts. I manage different teams for last 10 years at least. And one of my passions is to see how people grow from being like good engineers to being great engineers. But before I start describing you how we do that here and how we generally approach this, let me start with maybe like another small question to you, okay? So let's imagine this. Like, let's imagine that this, between my fingers, is the history of humanity, okay? This is the history of the humanity, the timeline. So if we consider this as a history of humanity, and we have an invention of a telescope, which is basically the most important tool for seeing the stars and understanding how stars looks like. So given this is the timeline of a human history, where would you think the invention of the telescope would be?
Somewhere around your fingernail, probably.
Okay, any more ideas? Okay, Petr is right. So if this is the history of humanity, as we know it, the invention of the telescope is like 2 millimeters from the end of my fingernail. You might guess, why do I tell you this, right? How it matters. Well, first of all, I have your attention now, okay? You have some thoughts about this. But also, what I think is another important disclaimer is, as with stars, we know very little on how to measure and understand people, right? So whatever I will tell you today is a very, very complex topic, okay? When we're talking about measuring people, it's a very, very complicated stuff which we just started as a humanity to do, okay? Just a short disclaimer to be a little bit, for you to be a little bit gentle to me with your questions, okay? So, what will be our agenda today? I will be fast and furious. I will tell you why grading people is hard. Why exactly, like how I tell you, why is it hard? I will tell you some of the key principles and metrics that are generally used in this topic, in this approach, right? I will tell you something about how we did it recently. We had some system how to measure people before. We have upgraded it, not like significantly, but we upgraded it. And there are some benefits and some challenges that come with the new system that we currently use. Why this might be important for you here, right? Why this might matter for you. First of all, maybe your company, you're on position where you have the power of decision making. Maybe you're looking how to improve the system that you are currently working with or living within. Maybe you personally feel a little bit stuck in your career. You don't know how to even understand and approach your position, right? What can you do with your personal career, right? Or maybe you just want to join us and you're curious how we do here, how we do stuff here. Okay? If that sounds okay, let me start with the first topic. Why grading is hard. So generally, like in a modern dialectics, right? When we think about grading people, about having grades, the system is usually quite simple, right? So usually we have juniors, we have middles, we have seniors, and we have some like lead position, which might be or might not be people management position. So there are leading engineers who are like contributors, there are people who are leading other people. So leading might mean different things. And this system is particularly simple. However, if you try to be a little bit more curious about people you work with, and you start to see who these people actually are, you start to see very important differences in people, right? First of all, some of your juniors might be actually a software development engineering test with some small yet significant experience in your project. Some of your people might have trading experience, and trading experience is particularly important for us here in Devexperts, right? Because we do trading terminals, and this is important stuff. So if you have this background, right, you know how stuff works. Or maybe some person might demonstrate capabilities of leading people, explaining how to do stuff, just being good, empathetic person. And as you talk to people, as you just generally care about the topic, right? You see that basically everyone within your field is different, right? There are people who have good things about them. There are some disadvantages or points of growth, so to say, and everyone is different, and it's quite hard to put them onto very simple one-dimensional line, okay? And that's the only first look, because there are more important things, because there is such thing as the outer world, right? Because your company is not the only one in the world. There are other companies, and they have the same grades, but they understand them differently. And the more you think about this, the more you reference to other companies, how do they understand what is senior, the more hard it becomes for you to understand who is junior for you, who is senior for you, and whether the person who is coming for you as a senior, who is this person, right? Is this senior for you? Is your senior for them? This kind of thing, okay? If I am a senior here, does it mean I'm a senior there, right? That's a great question. Probably, in my case, not, okay? So let me summarize this. So there are different expertises, right? People can be analysts, developers, performance analysts, whoever, right? They have different capabilities and different routines they are involved in. Seniority, as we understand it, is defined by multiple criteria. Each criteria that we use to define seniority of a certain person is very subjective. At the end of the day, it's very subjective, and this subjective criteria can have different priorities based on the project that you're working with. For example, if you're for some project, it might be important that person can develop code. For some other project, it might not be as important compared to being able to understand complex concepts and test them quickly by hand, right? It might be very important as well. And last but not least, you have to know the outer world. The outer world meaning different other companies, how do they approach people, and what do they mean when they say senior or leader or junior, okay? What are the key principles that are within this model? The key principles, as I understand them personally, is that we are talking about several different dimensions of understanding who this person is, or the number of persons are. First dimension is quite obvious, right? Is about doing things right. The process, just general technical advancement, technical impact. So what does this dimension mean? It might mean domain knowledge, right? If the person understands the domain that you're working in. It might be technical proficiency, just, knowing Linux, knowing secure shell, knowing how to code, knowing, tools, okay? Time management, ability to understand what time task will take, and, get into the timeline somehow, okay? Estimation and composition, which is like another part of the time management, when you can understand the task, the complexity of the task, and can, decompose it onto several meaningful steps. Again, tools and technologies which might not be related to the specific domain, but just general background, technical background. And ability to innovate and improve, just consider whether this or that tool is important or not, maybe try something else. General ability to use tools properly. So this is the first, and to be honest, the simplest dimension of how you can understand whether the person is good or not on his job, or her job, or their job, okay? Last but not least, the technical leadership, right? Ability to explain complicated things in a simple way to other people. So this is the first dimension. Things get a little bit more complicated when you think about what else differentiates different engineers from each other. So the second dimension, I would call it doing right things. Not only doing things right, but doing right things. What do we include here? Independence and ownership over what you're doing. So it's not only about just doing things right completely, to the process, but actually understanding why. Okay. To the same bucket of understanding why is the goal setting, right? Why we're doing something we're doing right now, and keeping the goal in mind. Problem solving, and this might include proactivity and might include some, ability to understand the problem and explore different ways of solving it. It's not about how to solve, but why to solve. Adaptability, obviously the world changes, and something that you have planned yesterday might change for a million reasons. It might change today. So you have to be able to adapt, not only because of the technology, but sometimes because of the business, because of the different stuff. You have to be able to react to the changing world. Impact on the team. Obviously, there are just great engineers who do work, but another thing that might be not as visible, but as important as previous is, for example, the glue work, right? The ability to help your team move forward without necessarily doing the technical stuff, right? Sometimes it's very important to help your folks, review code, or just, introduce some new technology, or read something, maybe even, just on the personal soft skill level. Communication skills, which is probably something more closer to the first dimension again, but communication skills might not only be about your engineering, but about, ability to talk to the client, ability to talk to the people who you are not necessarily expected to talk to, or it's not in your job description, but if you can be open to this, this might be a very great step forward for you to deliver better, good things. And again, together with technical leadership, it is as important to be able to provide mentorship, right? And it's not always about technical stuff, right? If you have a mentee, you are the important figure for your mentee. As an expert, as a human being, right? An ability to inspire a person, it's not only about giving tasks and controlling what the task is about, but also inspiring people, making them comfortable, helping them fight with their insecurities. Important stuff. A little bit, psychological, more or less, but it's important. So this is the second dimension, doing right things. And sorry, but things get a little bit more complicated if you think that, what else, right? And dimensions from third to nth are things that can probably be not very much aligned with what you expect from the person on his job, on her job. This might include open source projects, for example. If the person is contributing to something that is important outside of your job, is it important for you to understand what this person represents as a person? Definitely yes. Contribution to engineering community, right? engineering societies, engineering standards, different groups, discussion groups, right? This is very important, even if it's not very much aligned with your project necessarily. Public speaking, which is part of the contribution to the community. This skill is very important. This skill is very well thought of, and I guess this is something we all looking for, and even me, like staying here. And there are some other extraordinary capabilities that people may expose, right? Ability to test something in a different way, do some accessibility testing, do something that has not been expected by the job description. And why these dimensions are important, as you may see in the headline here, is if the first dimension is about doing things right, it's just about the process. The second dimension is about improving not your project, but maybe the company or the community. The next dimensions are about contributing to the world, right? To making the world a better place. And it's very hard to, put into the personal development plan, obviously, right? If you can improve your hard skills or you can improve even your soft skills, it's hard to put this stuff into development plan. However, it's important to understand what person represents. Okay, so this is the basics, right? Basics. How we did it, how we actually simplified this. So we are seeing all these complex questions in a sort of a three-dimensional model. We have expertise type, we have professional growth, and we have hard skills. Obviously, you cannot go away without hard skills. So the first dimension is expertise type. We have 4 expertise types, which are analyst, software development engineer and test, performance analyst, and people manager. So basically, how do these people differ in their expectations from what is expected from them? So the analyst is the person who is the master of quality assurance. This person is responsible for test analysis and test maintenance and writing great tests by using test design techniques and different test design approaches. So we can get great coverage, great scope, and great test effectiveness, first of all. And given the metaphor of the star exploration, this is the astronomer, right? In our discovery of the stars, these people are astronomers. They look for the stars. Software development engineers and test, sorry for this long name, you can call them automation engineers, okay? But I just don't like the automation engineer term, but you can call them that. So these people are masters of optimization. Their goal is to provide good automation design and develop actual tests. Their goal is to effectively collaborate with different parties, test engineers, test leaders, development leaders, project managers, so they can effectively reduce time to market. For whatever we do, for whatever we write and test, we have to do it more efficiently. And at the end of the day, reduce time to market. So given the metaphor of astronomers, these people are responsible for tuning up these telescopes, right? And actually building these telescopes. Third expertise that we have is performance analyst. So these people are responsible for analysis of the systems, how the systems behave and perform, so they can predict the workloads that will be used by our systems and conditions that will happen within the systems. So their goal is to track history of how the system operates, find patterns, find some bottlenecks, and effectively articulate what they have seen. And the end goal for these people is to reduce the unpredictability of our stuff that after it will be going to production. Going back to Paulina's presentation, right? There was a great question about non-functional effects, right? And this is the goal for a separate team, and they are looking for these patterns. They have like a very advanced technology to gather the history of stuff, right, and compare the baselines and dynamics, how things behave, right? So continuing with the stars metaphor, these people are the scientists and the observatory scientists. Last but not least, the people manager in our role. So these people are responsible for long-term vision. These people are here to enable and to motivate people, to enable them to do the work more efficiently and remove the stuff that prevents people from being useful and effective. They're responsible for managing the expectations of the client and provide acceptable estimations. They are responsible for setting good goals, smart, effective goals, and see the root causes of the problem. So sometimes we have some problems, sometimes we have some issues. The ultimate goal for the people manager is to understand the cause and effect really good, right? So if something happened, we have to understand why. And continuing with my metaphor of scientists, telescopes, whatever, I would probably call the manager as gravity, right? And probably the best manager is the one who keeps everyone together, but not very much seen, right? he should be like a glue. So this is how we split people into these two areas. Second dimension after the professional expertise is the professional growth, and here we are very conservative, right? So we have trainees, juniors, middle, seniors, leading, and principal engineers. So how do they differ for us? What are the differences between these people, right? And well, just a small disclaimer, we have some Devex folks here, and they have seen this before, not in this form, but they have seen it, right? Some of them, right? Probably. I hope you have seen it. I have shown this to you. But here is what I will tell you, and to you guys as well. How do I think they were very different right now? They are different, in my opinion, in professional growth by three key areas, right? The knowledge that their relationship to knowledge, their relationship to the impact they do to the world around them, and the responsibility also area, right? So when it comes to knowledge, how do people differ? So trainee is responsible for just sourcing knowledge. Nobody expects trainee to be impactful, right? The goal of the trainee is to demonstrate learning capabilities. Junior is responsible for accumulating project knowledge, right? So we expect junior to be gathering knowledge on a great speed and providing also a sense of learning. Middle people are responsible for maintaining the gathered knowledge, and they are basically the source for information usually in the system. Senior people are responsible for defining new knowledge, expanding the knowledge that we have, and sharing it with peers. Leading engineers are responsible for building new knowledge, right? Not only extending what we already have or maybe refactoring it, but building new knowledge effectively in the system. And principal engineers are responsible for spreading the knowledge, evangelizing the technology, and considering additional knowledge that we might need. When it comes to impact, how do these people differ? So trainees, their impact is on themselves, right? Trainees are here to source the knowledge for themselves. They are just working on improving themselves. Junior people are responsible, they are impacting the process, right? So they are in the process to actually follow the routines. Junior people are being told what to do and what is exactly expected from them with greater detail, right? Middle people, their impact is on the team. So for middle engineers, the great difference from juniors are that the tasks that middle engineers are doing, they're not that well defined. They're not intended to be well defined. They're trying to solve different problems within their responsibility area. Senior people, their impact is system, right? And now when I say system, it might not only mean the system as a technology, but system as a team, for example. Team is also a system, right? Where you have internal connections, when you have internal knowledge base and internal, like, basically processes as well. So senior people are impacting the system or the system for the client. Leading people are impacting the project routines, project processes, project goals, project relationship, internal and external. And principal engineers are working on the company level. So within the company goals, within the company as a system. And last but not least, responsibility. What is their responsibility? So responsibility of a trainee is learning, okay? Responsibility of junior is practices, actually best practices, okay? Middle engineers, they're responsible for delivering features. Senior people are responsible for building the proper architecture. And as I told you, when I say architecture, it's not only about technology necessarily, but architecture of the processes, architecture of the relationship within your project, within your group, right? Leading engineers, they're responsible for strategies, not only what we do right now, but what will we do tomorrow, what will we do next month, or how we will do it technically, right? My favorite example is strategy for automation, right? Why we select certain tools, like, and how it relates to the client needs. This is a strategy, not because we just like this technology and why not use it. And principal engineer is basically responsible for the values, because strategies are built upon principles and values, right? If we have a value of not switching to whatever technology just because it's fancy, it helps us build strategies after all. Or we have other values and create new strategies every month. And so as you can see, this all composes into very simple statements, okay? And the simple statements are: trainees are responsible for sourcing their self-learning. Junior people are accumulating practices. Middle people are maintaining features. Senior people are defining architecture. Leading people are building strategies. And principal engineers are spreading, or so to say, evangelizing values. Okay? Define and evangelize the values. So, to summarize all this, what is the goal here? Our goal is to evaluate level of knowledge, the level of impact, level of responsibility, level of dedication and subject expertise. It's not about the technology, it's about dedication to the stuff that you're doing and how do you take the responsibility of what you're doing. And as you may guess, this stuff is not like Boolean, right? It's not like easy, like, oh, you do that, you do that. You don't do that, okay, you're just not doing that. So we're using a specific T-shirt model to assert different characteristics or behavioral patterns of the person, right? It's not about you know Java or you have a certificate Java, right? It's about us asserting whether this person does this, expose this behavior to the certain level or not. And to give you an example, right? Why is important? Because for me, in my team, if we have a senior engineer in test who tests with C#, for me, the system looks like this is a senior, first of all. It's an engineer. It's a senior engineer in test with C#. Why this is important? Because first of all, I would like this person to demonstrate senior capabilities, right? Senior responsibility, senior impact on the team, on the project. Then this person has to demonstrate engineering capabilities, hard skills. These hard skills should be primarily focused on testing, because well, maybe this person can code the product code as well, right? But this person have to probably focus on testing. And the least thing I care about is the technology that this person uses. I care about technology that this person uses, but whether it's C# or Python, it's not that important as soon as we are reaching the goals and we're having the impact that we need. Okay, this is very important. So this is the pretty classic system. And last thing here is just practical hard skills, what we expect from people. And this is something that is perpendicular or orthogonal to the professional growth and the expertise type, because these things might include ability to use different tools and frameworks. And when I say tools and frameworks, it's not only like Selenium, but maybe Agile as a framework, or maybe Kanban as a framework, right? This is also the frameworks. Trading technology. This is very specific to us, okay? I'm sorry for that. But trading technology for our company is very important if you understand how charting works, right? How how technical analysis works, or how prediction algorithm or recommendation algorithm works. It is very important for us, and it's like separate dimension for that. Process automation. And it might include testing or might not include testing automation. Because if you know how to automate your process using Jira dashboards, that's process automation, right? If you know how to set up the pipeline for the delivery, it is not testing, but it's a process automation, so you can avoid doing routine stuff. Coding skills are somewhat orthogonal to that as well, because you might need your coding skills to understand trading technology, to do process automation or testing automation, or to do some other stuff, right? Presentation skills. It's not only about standing here and doing fancy presentations. It's also about being able to articulate what you have done to the client, for example. Because obviously, being able to explain in a simple terms what have you done and why is it important is the crucial skill, right? Obviously being able to clearly define what was your goal and how you did it is a top skill. And English level, right? It intersects with presentation skills in my case, but you guys understand that probably it intersects with everything here. And obviously, when it comes to these hard skills, they have different application on different specialities on different levels. Obviously, there are skills that are important particularly for junior developers. There are skills that are important for senior developers. There are skills that are important for performance analysts, right? There are skills that are particularly important for people managers and not that much for everybody else, like firing people, right? Not very nice skill to have, but sometimes you need it, right? And there are skills that are for everyone, like a little bit more for one specialty, but also important for others. I hope I didn't make you very, very bored with that. What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to tell you about this, to sum up this, is that given this three-dimensional system, there is always a way to make some increment in one way or another, right? You can always try to increase your professional growth, your impact, or you can work on your hard skills, or maybe consider what you can do for your expertise. Summing up, I promise. Benefits. So what are the benefits of this particular system? Simplified system, okay? So how we understand it? Now we have like more or less clear, more or less defined, more or less agile way to discuss career steps, because you can define what you can do to improve your impact or your hard skills, or how you can progress in terms of maybe switching the expertise, okay? our system is focused on enabling and encouraging people and reducing barriers. Because what I feel in our domain, in testing in particular, right, that test automation, for example, is considered to be very specific, very separate expertise, right? And people tend to think that, oh, I can progress to automation, or I can progress to being people manager, or I can progress to become a performance engineer, or something else, right? It's very important to have this separation between becoming senior and switching your expertise type, right? Because if you are senior, to a certain degree, it's not that important if you're automation or not, because you are senior engineer. You can do automation, you can avoid doing automation if you reach your goals, okay? This is very important. And I just not a big fan of this separation after all. We have reduced subjectivity by splitting this into 3 dimensions. We have not completely removed the subjectivity, but we have reduced it. We think that we have improved the project applicability because, again, if you see a person who demonstrates senior capabilities, you can be more sure that this person will demonstrate senior capabilities on whatever project you will assign this person to, okay? And even if this person will need to study performance engineering or test automation, or he was or she was or them was a automation engineer, and now he has to learn just normal testing or accessibility testing, this can be done because this person is senior, right? And last thing here, as a benefit, is how I see it, is that we are trying to manage the system more than people, right? And we are not trying to crank up every particular person, but we're trying to see how we can change the system so people will see how can they help improving by themselves. There are challenges to this as well, okay? It's not all fancy bells and whistles. Still, one of the main problems is that if you want to want to obtain the technical expertise, it's fair to admit that it's particularly hard sometimes to obtain certain expertise if your project does not demand it, right? If you don't have a demand to automate, and your project manager is not open to it, to spend the time on it, you have to invent creative ways to learn it. And we internally, we start to do some workshops and targeted education with certain people, right? Giving some certain people certain tasks. It is not an easy task, not an easy challenge to solve. But we're working on that. We have to admit this. This system is less subjective, but it is still subjective. And the other important part is that this system still relies on a certain level of personal reflection. So when you're talking about technical stuff, it's relatively easy to say like, oh, you know Java 5 out of 10, because I have seen your pull requests, and they are like, okay. When it comes to the personal behavior capabilities, right, demonstrating that you're senior, it's not that easy, and you have to have a clear, honest discussion. Like, do you agree that this is not very senior? Or do you agree that you did a good job and maybe you're undervaluing yourself? I see that you're like leader, right? But it still relies on personal reflection, and you have to be very self-aware to work with that. And last painful thing here is that there is still no cheat code, right? There is, at my personal opinion, but there is little to no way to become a senior in 1 year, for example. Because becoming senior, becoming leader, or becoming principal takes time, because it takes some experience, especially some painful experience, and you have to live with this. You have to see different things to obtain the knowledge and to process it. So even though there are some things that you have to obtain technologically or knowledge level, which you can probably obtain very fast, right? Still, there is no way to progress that fast because you still have to get some of these behavioral patterns. Okay, so these are the challenges. Summing up, what can you do with this? Maybe you can use this model to split your understanding of yourself into these categories, right? What do you represent as a skills person? What do you represent as impact bringer, right? What is your role, not as a like a coder or a tester, but what is your role to the project? How can you improve that, for example? Maybe you have more exposure to the client and just take more responsibilities, not technologically, but generally. And you can think how we can improve these areas, like hard skills, responsibilities, maybe like even the expertise level. Explore neighboring areas and some outer world as well, right? Because again, if you consider yourself as a senior or a middle and you are a little worried, like, why am I not senior right now in my position? Maybe check outer world, right? Maybe other companies have different definitions of what is senior, right? And you can learn from them to see how you can improve your impact or your hard skills or your expertise. And last, again, probably the most obvious, I'm sorry for that, but invest into skills, hard skills and soft skills. And don't limit yourself to just the things that are obvious to your skills. Like if you're an automation engineer, it might be obvious to, oh, I will get a Java certificate, or I will learn, yet another language. But maybe, just maybe, you have to learn soft skills. Maybe you have to learn different type of testing. Maybe you have to learn negotiation skills to be present on a client meeting and, just understand what is happening, right? And say the right words in the right sequence at some point of time. Okay? So this is it. Thanks all, dear people.